think that in 85, 86, 11th standard tour of Dayanand College, I also visited to the Mahabaleshwar under the able guidance of Dr. Pang. He was the electronic teacher in the 11th, I think that in 86.
Okay. I'm going to be right back. I have to get something.
Okay, okay. That's me.
So, Deepak, I can see you now.
Hey, something. Hey, thanks.
Morning. A warm welcome to everyone in International Webinar on Software Industry, Opportunity in Software Industry during and post COVID-19, organized by Department of Electronics, Computer Science and Animation Science of Yashwantrao Sawan Institute of Science, Satara, Autonomous, affiliated to Shivaji University, Kolhapur, and sponsored by Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan. We are extremely delighted with presence of our today's honorable resource person, Mr. Dhanraj Gadekar Sir, New Jersey, Oracle DBA, Mr. Deepak Panchal Sir, New Jersey, Application Development, and Mr. Santosh Kulkarni Sir, Texas, Security and Cloud. Also, we feel honored to have with us Honorable Dr. B.P. Jadhav Sir, Principal, Yashwantrao Sawan Institute of Science, Satara. Honorable Mr. J. Vag Sir, Head, Department of Electronics and Computer Science. All members in organizing committee, all faculty members and all participants, welcome you all to this international webinar. Now, I would like to request Honorable Mr. J. Vag Sir to welcome the gathering. Honorable Mr. J. Vag Sir.
Okay, very good. One good morning, sir, and good evening in America. So, am I audible, sir? Pancha, sir? Hello.
Yes.
Okay. So, first, I would like to welcome on this one-day international webinar on the software opportunities during the COVID and post-COVID. So, in this international webinar, so first of all, I would like to welcome all of you, Honorable the resource person, the Dhanraj Gadekar Sir, Santosh Kulkarni Sir, Deepak Panchal Sir from USA, as well as the Honorable Director, Dr. B.T. Dalu Sir, Vice Principal, Dr. T.Y. Deshpande Sir, all the heads of the departments, all the organizing members of this Department of Electronics and the Computer Science, researchers, and the students who are participated in this webinar, today's webinar. So as far as I do the highlights of this, our institute or our department is concerned. So already we have discussed with our principal what about the participants in this webinar. So as far as the webinar is organized, it will cover the School of the Computing Science, which includes the electronics, the computer science, the Bachelor of Vacation in the software developments, as well as the animation science. Roundabout, I think that 1,000 students will be enrolled in the School of the Computing Science. It's a very big numbers, and we are expected that that means the about 5,000 students from the PG students as well as the last year students will be participating in this one, as well as the researchers of this institute, as well as the researchers around the Shivaji University or in the abroad. So these are the audience of this one is concerned. So it is very big requirements. As far as the our institute, that is the Institute of Science Satara, it is autonomous institute during the 2018, and we are reached at the stage of the that is the 30 years of this BSc degree up to this now, and we have say the revision of the curriculum, and in this revision of the curriculum we have incorporated the new trades in the as far as the computer science is concerned, like that we have incorporated the IoT things, and then database, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, such types of new trends which will be occurring in the software industry, having incorporated in the curriculum of the computing science, and all the routine platforms are there, that developing languages are there, that is .NET is there, C++, then C# is there, and again the Java and advanced Java, they are the routine platforms to develop the softwares. Apart from this, just doing the trends in the environment, so just we have incorporated this type of syllabus. And our honorable principal, that is director, that is he is a very keen interest to join the new trends in this computer science or the new trends in the science as well as. So already I am very proud to say that our institute have registered for the Institute Innovation Council, which is established by the Ministry of Human Resource Development of the India, as far as is concerned, and we are running so many activities under this, and just we have collected, I think that 500 ideas from this ISSL, and we have yesterday we have shortlisted 160 ideas that are innovative ideas, and that will go to the prototype or to the incubation of the center. That means in our college we have an incubation center, that is CIIS Center, which is collaboration with the data technology and the registration Samstha. So apart from this, sir, just I would like to highlight of this one. The main objective to organize the webinar, international webinar, along with such type of your dynamic personality search. There is one objective, that means just you are the our brothers, we are our native place, we are our this one. So just we wish to know how we have proceeded your journey from Solapur or from India or from Maharashtra to USA. That means, and how many obstacles we have faced, and how we can stand in the USA, and that is your storytelling autobiography, or you can share with the views regarding your career as well from the India to the USA as far as the e-personality. I am expecting from your side, and that will be helpful to inspire the student of the computer science or the student of the YCIS Satara or other type of researcher. This is the first objective to organize this webinar. Second objective is that what are the things which are going in the groups as far as the computer science is concerned. So in this computer science, and there is a new trends are there, just I have mentioned, that is IoT application, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and database and cloud and security. And you like people who are working on such types of very recent topics on the America, and that opportunity, how we can grab the opportunity, how our students will grab the opportunity in America or in India. There are so many software industries are there in India also, in the Bangalore is concerned, and Pune is concerned, and Mumbai and Hyderabad. These are the very big software industries are there, the agencies are there, and how the student will grab this opportunity in the new areas of the computer science is concerned. So this is the expectation from your side, sir. So apart from this, to our objectives, sir, I will turn to this is the humble duty to introduce today's personality of the resource person. That is first of all the honorable Director, sir. So as far as the Dhanraj study is concerned, just available of the principal sir and myself, that is Mr. Jeva, it's also from the Solapur, from the same university, the same city there. You are born and brought in the Solapur in the Maharashtra. So and this Dhanraj sir have activities very experience in the IT industries. In many, he has worked with many software industry in the India. As far as the one or two examples are there, Bharatpur, Sakan Pune, Shivaji Works Limited, Solapur. These are some and have worked as a senior database and administration. And now currently, he is working as a database administrator in New York City for IIM Group. Primarily, his expertise in the Oracle database and administration of the Oracle database, along with related number of technologies such as different having the different operating systems are there. That is the Linux operating system, the Windows operating system, and have a planning capacity, have a big planning capacity. So he has such types of working environment is there. As far as the education of this is concerned, he had completed his BSc from electronics from the Dayanand College, Solapur Arts and Science College, Solapur, which is at that time that college is related to the Solapur, but that Solapur is a separate university currently now, and he did his YCIS from that is diploma course, and which is related to the, I think that is one of the board that is called the Ite board. It is a training term. That means I think that, and he has completed his MCS, one of the master in computer science diploma. And this is the brief introduction related to the Dhanraj as well as the second honorable personality from the USA, that means that is Santosh Kulkarni sir. And Santosh Kulkarni sir, born in the Bangalore, and he did his primary and secondary education or the school education in the Solapur in the Maharashtra state, India. And he completed his graduation in the same college, in the college Solapur, which is a subject, and master in computer science applications, which is completed in the very green campus and the very dynamic campus of the Shivaji University, Kolhapur. So, briefly, he is currently working in the financial and insurance company, but as a USA and in Dallas, USA. Similarly, the third personality, that is honorable personality, that is the Deepak Panchal sir. He is born in the Gujarat state. I don't know what is exactly the city of this one. Might be Ahmedabad or might be Surat. So, born in the Gujarat state, and he completed his schooling from the Kalyan in the Mumbai. And he did his graduation from the BSc Physics from the Dayanand College, Solapur, and master and completed his master degree, that is a Master of Business Administration, that is the MBA in Finance in HN College, Kolhapur, which is related to the Shivaji University, Kolhapur. So also he completed his PG diploma in software engineering from the Indian Computer Academy, affiliated with the Harvard University, BSc, and he started working in Bangalore. Initially, he started in the Bangalore, and afterwards he joined to the America. Currently, he is working as a ACI worldwide, New Jersey, USA. So this is a brief introduction related to this honorable personality, which is from the USA, and so many our students, that is the software students and the researchers of this college, institute, university, and India and abroad, they are getting your guidance, valuable guidance related to your journey, how you have pursued your journey of the software industry, and what are the opportunities, what are the scopes, and how to enroll as an employer in the industry. What are the essential skills which will be required for the placement of our students in the software industry. And once again, I welcome the honorable resource persons, that is the Gadikar sir, then Kulkarni sir, and the Panchal sir, as well as the director of British Arrow sir, and all these the organizing committee member, this staff faculty of this institute, and the other researchers and the participants who are directly or indirectly participating online meeting. So once again, I welcome all of you. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to request Honorable Dr. B.T. Jadhav sir, Principal Yashwantrao Savan Institute of Science, Satara, to share their thoughts about today's international webinar. Please, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, one and all. On the occasion of this international webinar, my colleagues are with me. Dr. J. Wag sir, Dr. Shishikant Shinde sir, Rahul Wagmare, and all friends, Vice Principal of the college, Dr. Vishwas Deshpande, head of the departments, students and friends, and the resource person who jointly as early as we have joined this webinar, Honorable Dhanrajji Gadekar, Dr. Deepakji Panchal, Santosh Kulkarni, and the students from the various departments who just joined to this webinar. Friends, once again, good morning to one and all. On behalf of Yeshwantrao Chavan Institute of Science, Satara, and as a director of this institute, once again I welcome on this international webinar. My colleague, Dr. Wag sir, has already mentioned about the aim of this webinar and the history behind the organization of this webinar. Same, I repeat in few lines. Dhanraj sir, Deepak sir, and Santosh sir, aim of this webinar is informed by my colleague. But additional, just I say that another aim of this webinar is to motivate the students, because in this institute around 8,500 students are learning their education in the various branches: physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, mathematics, statistics. But in the School of the Computer Science, 3 entries are there. One is BSc Computer Science regular and BSc Computer entire. Another one is the BSc Animation, and one more is there, BSc Software Development. And around 300 students every year they are entering into the college. We have the first year, second year, third year, and just we are going to start the MSc, that is PG course in computer science. And due to this COVID situation, students are very much worried about the placement. Even though they are just entering into the college, they are worried about the placement, what will be the future for us. We are taking the admission and what will the future, because so many of us and many of you are working from home, and if we are working from home, then definitely there will be some intelligent candidates are shortlisted for that, and industries are not going to give the opportunity for the many and many people. But one thing is that so many chances of employability development are also increases, and we have the new interest to know the recent areas where we have the future, our students have the future. So this is the one more aim of this webinar. Sir, we are running the startup cell, entrepreneur cell, we have the innovation cell, we have the incubation center. We are very much working on the research and development. Our students and teachers are organizing the various extension activities. We are running the consultancies. Even though we are in a very good phase of the research, because this institute is absolutely related to the research activities. Name of this institute is that Yeshwantrao Chavan Institute of Science, and this institute is very much focusing on the research activities. So many of students are entering for the research purpose, but we are not able to give the permission to all students for the research activities, because there are limitations for the research activities. That's why we are searching the various areas, and what will be these areas, that is the interest of this webinar. So once again, I welcome all these, my colleagues, my friends, my college friends, and I am heartily congratulate to you, because on my request you are joining to this webinar, you are ready to guide to our students, we are ready to motivate our students. And I once again request to you, you should not guide to us not only for this webinar, but we will develop a long rapport with you, and this institute is very good. You should guide to this institute, guide to the teacher, guide to the students, and we will continue our collaboration in future also. Okay, thank you for giving me a chance by the organizer to say something about this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for inspiring and encouraging us with your words. Now we are going to start with our first session. Our resource persons are going to share their own life experiences, their background, their work information, as well as stories behind their struggle to achieve their recent positions. Now I request our today's guest, Mr. Santosh Kulkarni sir, Mr. Deepak Panchal sir, and Mr. Dhanraj Gadekar sir to share their experiences. Mr. Santosh Kulkarni sir.
Um, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. All right. So, Honorable Principal Dr. Bharat Zadav and Dr. Bagh and Dr. Shashikant Shinde and Pagmare sir and all the other YCIS faculty members, my fellow presenters and friends. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to the webinar on the opportunities in software industry during and post COVID-19. Also, first of all, we are very close to the Diwali festival, so I wanted to wish you all a very happy Diwali. I have been given the responsibility to kick off the presentation. So what I'm going to do is just take a few moments to just give you an idea of the format, how we want to run this webinar so that you know what is coming. We did not want to have one person do the whole thing and then the second person comes and the third person comes, right? So we wanted to break it up a little bit so that, you are not bored. And so what we have done is we have split this whole webinar into segments. So first, you all know that we have three speakers, Mr. Gadekar, Mr. Panchal, and myself. And in the first round, we are going to talk about our journey, starting from our childhood, which, as you heard from Vak sir, that we spent in India and at least at least some part in Maharashtra. And then how we progressed in our careers and how we landed up in the United States and what are the things we are working on. And what are some of the things that we would like to mention, right? So we will take turns during doing these segments. So I will start, and then Mr. Panchal will take over, and then Mr. Gadekar. And then what we will do is we will go to some of the common slides that talk about the topics that hopefully you guys will find interesting and useful. So with that, I would like to talk a little bit about myself. I know that Mark sir has given very good introduction, and I appreciate his kind words. Let me tell a little bit about myself. So as Mark sir said that I was born in Bangalore, so I'll just give a little bit of background on why that is. My father was in the Indian Air Force, so he had a transferable job. And when he was posted at Bangalore, that's when I was born. And after that, I spent my early childhood in various places in India. I was in Delhi. I was 6 months in Bareilly in Uttar Pradesh. And then I also spent about 3 years in Jodhpur, which is in Rajasthan. And finally, we landed in Solapur, where I did most of my higher education, starting from my 6th standard all the way to the BSc. And that is where I came into contact with the speakers as well as Dr. Zada. And we spent 3 years in BSc together. And then, so I did my BSc in physics, and I'm going to be honest with you. So I wanted to go to do my master's in physics, but I did not get that good grades. So, which was kind of blessing in disguise, because then I came to know that there is this master's in computer applications course in the Shivaji University. There was an entrance exam for it, and I went and attended that, me and a couple of my friends. And it was a very tough exam, especially since it was, we were told that it was negative marking there, so which means that you get marks deducted if you answer the question incorrectly. So out of 100, if I remember right, I got like 41 marks only. But as it turns out, I was the first. So many people also attended that, and the number of seats was 20. As I was hearing Dr. Zada tell about his institute, I was so glad that, there's so much variety and you guys are doing so many things, projects and research and things in the areas of IoT and artificial intelligence and machine language and all that. So we did not have that much variety when I was doing my master's. Can we move to the next slide, Dhanraj?
Yeah.
Is it going?
You will see the next slide, right?
Yeah, next slide.
Do you see?
Yeah. Right. So after I did my master's in computer applications, even in those days, the name of the Shivaji University was not that great. So now a lot of us have gone in various parts of the world. So it is not considered like a newcomer anymore. But in those days, I struggled to find the first job, but it wasn't that long. But after I got my start, then it was not a big deal. Can we move to the next slide? So no, yeah, the one before. Yeah. So through a recruiting company, I think, if I remember right, I secured my first job as a programmer doing C++ programs for a software firm in India that was in Pune. The name of the company was Indus Software, and now I think it's wholly owned by GE Capital, which is a company like a huge company in the US. And my experience about that was that I learned a lot on how to work and what are project deadlines and how to do stuff then when you don't know the language, you don't know anything about it, but you learn as you go. So that is one thing that I learned in the first job, and I would highly recommend that anybody who is entering into the workforce, take your first job as a very big opportunity to learn, right? And that's what I did. All I remember from that time is the number of hours that I put in. it was, and I was single, I didn't have anything to do after I go home. So, I used to spend as much time as possible there and, work with others, all of that, right? So I worked with that company for about 2.5 years. And as the trend was in those days, I started looking out, where can I go? Where can I go more? Where can I grow more? And I interviewed with the big company HCL, and they promised me that they are going to try for placing me at a company in the US. And it took some time, but ultimately I landed in a city called Dallas, which is part of Texas. And this was a company called Ite Technologies. In those days, it was a supply chain management company. And my job was to write user interface controls for some of their software. And so a little bit about that company. So this company was started by two Indians who had their education in the US, and they started this company, and it was like a startup. And there also I learned a lot. There was a lot of work, and we used to work many hours, nights and weekends sometimes. And there also I learned a lot. I learned, so when I had finished my college, I used to think that I know a lot of C++, but when I joined these two companies, one in India and one in the US, I came to know that that how much I don't know. So, and it was a great opportunity to learn. And then from that, as my next project, still through HCL, I went to a bank up north in a state called Iowa. You might have heard that when we were in the news. So I spent about a year in the bank, and then I decided that I wanted to do something else. I had spent almost 2 years and more through HCL, so I wanted to try out something more. And then I approached some people, and they were able to hire me. And I went and did one project for the Delta Airlines, so the big airlines company. So one lesson I learned after joining there is that I didn't know those people very well, and I didn't know what the project was going on, but I still went there and just took a chance. So the reward that I got from there is, even though I did not have a lot of Java experience, I was given a project in Java that, hey, learn Java and then do this project. So that project lasted for a few months. And to cut a long story short, I became a Java developer in a company. And then slowly I rose to the team lead and the technical leadership position in various companies. And all these companies were in different domains. So the Delta Airlines, as you know, is in the transport area. And some of the retail companies like JCPenney, it is a departmental store. And also financial companies. And also one company that rented out furniture to people. So I had a lot of experience, a lot of varied experience. I did not specialize in one domain, and there's nothing wrong or right about it. So it just happened that I I never got too deep into any of the domains. So you can say that, some of my skills became portable, that I could work anywhere. I was very interested in design and a lot of the analysis and design parts, design patterns and all of that. And that helped me even further my career in the technical leadership. And about 4.5 years ago, I joined the company that I'm currently working in. So I'm just going to tell a little bit about this company. The company's name is a USAA. I won't get into the full form of it. It is a banking and financial company. So just a little bit history about that. So in 1900s or so, there was, so it was the First World War. And after the war ended, a lot of the soldiers who were fighting for the US Army, they came back, and they were very young people because the enlisting age in the US is 18 years. So they are like 19 years old, 20 years old, 21 years old, and some people were officers, so they were older. But the problem that they were facing is that, since they did not have a lot of stay in the US, nobody was able to insure their cars, right? So, and without insurance, how do you drive a car? It's not even legal. So what they did was, they banded together, and about 30 people, and they insured each other. They pooled a bunch of money and they insured each other. And that's how the insurance company started. And so to cut a long story short again, our company caters exclusively to the people in the Army and the Air Force, of course, the US Army. And now we have started to also cater to the blood relationships, right? So if your brother is in the Army, if your dad is in the Army, stuff like that. So, and we have about 12 to 13 million customers, and we are still growing. So I will talk about what I do there in a little bit detail. So Anraj, can you go to the next slide, please? So I started out by working in a team which was doing the batch processing. So it was basically a batch processing framework. So there was like a lot of batches. And what a batch is that, let's say you want to transfer a lot of accounts from one place to another. So you have all the information in a file, what you have to do. And you also have the information about, which accounts it has to process, and it runs. So there is no user interface or anything. It just runs as like a long batch. So I started working with that. But after a year, after almost 2 years, I joined the current project, which is what I'm going to talk about. And so this is a project which deals with the security, and I'm going to tell you, what part of the security, right? So there is another team that handles the security, but this the security that I'm talking about is slightly different. So it has these various aspects of security, right? So one is the web security, right? So web security, as you know, that how do you make your website secure, right? So if you're a bank, when people come to your website and conduct business, they withdraw money, they transfer money. So how do you make sure that their information is kept secured, right? And how do you make them feel confident that they can put the money that they have their hard-earned money into your hands, so to speak. So how do you make them feel confident? So that technology. Other is the security of the data. The data can be residing in databases, or it can be in files. So how do you make sure that that the data is secure? So how do you do that? There are various things that you can do. You can restrict the access. You can encrypt the data, which means that even if someone gets hold of the data, they cannot make any sense out of it because it is all jumbled, right? And in the last 3-4 months ago, I've taken the same functionality. Same functionality is being moved to the cloud, right? So just going back a little bit about the encryption part. So what the primary goal of my team is to maintain a product which helps protect the sensitive data. Now you might get the question, what is exactly sensitive data? So sensitive data is something that should be kept confidential because it can be misused. So information about your name, address, your email address, and your social security number. So social security number is very similar to the other ID in India, right? So this product basically helps protect that by converting this data into tokens. So this and it is one-way token for the people who don't who is not going through our software. So let's say there is an account. So somebody named Santosh Kulkarni has an account in the bank. So unless the member service representative has any need to see my actual name, then all the other systems where the data is flowing through, what we do is we changed the Santosh Kulkarni into a token. So it will be some random number like YTREW 78 space POUG something, right? So what that does is that you can keep using your database queries and all that to do all the stuff except that you cannot see the name. So this is a product that we maintain. This is the third-party product, and my job is to help all my client teams, and by client teams I mean that I work in the enterprise team, and my clients are various teams from the bank and the insurance company. So I help them how to use the software, how to integrate, how to make sure that their capacity needs are met. So I already told you that we have 12 million customers. So for, let's say, certain transaction in the bank, they have to do a processing for maybe all of the customers, which means that they have to process like 12 million or so rows in the database in one day. So I have to make sure that my software can my software should not crash and it should return back in a reasonable time. So I'm responsible for the capacity, make sure that it doesn't crash, make sure that it keeps giving the right results and all of that. So that is one example of what I do. And as I said, all this functionality is also moving to the cloud. So I'm responsible for getting the software from the vendor and making sure that I work with the architects in the cloud, make sure that it goes in the right place, make sure that other teams that are also in the cloud can call my software, and so stuff like that. It is very exciting. It can also get a little bit boring, but so far so good. I have a team of people who work for me, and some people are in Dallas and some people are in another city called Phoenix. And so far I'm enjoying it until the next challenge comes. I'm going to keep doing this. I think that is enough about me. So I think it is, I enjoyed presenting this, but I would like to call upon Mr. Panchal to do his bit.
Hi, can you guys hear me? Good morning, everyone. Dr. Vats, sir, that was a nice introduction, everyone, including me, Ragmari sir, Dr. Shinde sir, and other faculty members. Thanks for organizing such a webinar. It's an opportunity for us to share our life experiences with everyone, with the hope that it helps inspire and motivate everyone in their life. About me, I was born in Gujarat, in Kalol actually. It's near Vadodara. Then it was called Baroda, I think. Now it's called Vadodara. My dad was in the railways, so he was posted in Kalyan. So I did all my schooling in Kalyan, which is now part of Mumbai, until 10th. Then we moved to Pune. Actually, we moved to Dawn. I was doing Pune, from Dawn to Pune. And then from 12th onwards, we moved to Solapur. And then joined DBA Bannon College for my PhD degree. A student in math and all, just doing good. Somehow got through the 12th BSc, and did my BSc in physics from DBA Bannon College. I was a first class student there, but not very, not on the top or anything. But while doing BSc, I heard about NCS course in Sunny Computer. So along with my BSc, I was doing my NCS diploma course from Sunny. And there I learned all the basics of computer languages, and DOS was like the main Microsoft operating system, and also some basics of Linux or Unix. And those days, I think Microsoft came up with their own version of Linux or Unix. Actually, they call it Xenix. And now nobody knows about it. And that's how I got introduced to the Unix operating system in Sunny Computers. So I did my master's in computer science diploma, and there I got a distinction. That was like my first distinction in my life actually, and that's how I also knew that I think computer is for me. Along with that, once I finished my BSc, I did not know what should I go to computers or maybe management. So I did an MBA also. I took on the MBA course in HN College in Solapur, and there also I think there was an MBA degree in DBA Dayanand also, but they had a requirement for computers as a mandatory subject. Me doing MCS, I'd already got my MCS degree there and already knew most of the computer stuff. So I joined HN College instead of Dayanand College for my MBA and got my degree from there. And after I finished MBA, I heard about this course, Diploma in Software Engineering from Indian Computer Academy in Bangalore, which was affiliated with Harvard University. Now, looking at the Harvard name, of course, anybody can be, enticed. So I was like, okay, let's see what they have to offer, and then maybe it will look good on my academic curriculum. So I took up. I also did the entrance exam for them, and then just hoped what will happen. Looks like my entrance was very good. They called me for the interview. They said that I know I was one of the few top candidates who cleared the entrance. They said that, which was actually surprising because when I did the entrance exams, I don't really read them. I just knew whatever I knew from running computers, and maybe uh, my learning ability maybe was spot on to computers the way the computer logics work. So anyway, so I did my PG diploma. Uh, there I did a project on something called on a database simulator. Those days we used to have a DBase as a database, and DBase 3 Plus was like the in thing that time, and Fox Pro from Microsoft was also coming up. But DBase was very popular, and it was like the desktop database. Everyone was using it for their local application. So as a project, I just gave it a try. I created that DBase database simulator. Basically, we call it simulator, but it was actually an initial version of database. It would do create the tables and run a simple select query and show the data. That was all. As a part of project, within the time frame of like 2 weeks, I did that. You know, and able to show it, and that gave me a very good ranking, and I scored like third rank with distinction. So that is like uh, a big high point in my academic career actually. So from all my life, I never had any high point. Like I was always barely getting it out, and this was like a very good uh, uh, start for me. So from after doing the Indian Computer Academy in Bangalore, that is where I was selected in the on-campus interview by one company called Tiger Software. Radhika, can you move to the next slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I joined the company in Bangalore called Tiger Software. That's where I was introduced to banking industry and banking. I did not know much about banking, or rather anything about banking, because all we know was from our interactions with the banks, and I did not know what goes on behind the counter. So from my stint at Tiger Software, it's called a small firm, partnership firm of three partners. One was an Indian, two were American, and they were creating front-end software for customers, which would let them enter a LC, which is letter of credit transaction, on the computers. The computers would do all the validations and all of the data that the user would enter and convert it into a Swift message. Swift is like the standard that the banks use to communicate with other banks. So interbank transactions happen using Swift, and that is what I learned from this company. And this company also showed me, taught me or gave me training on RDBMS and Nosql. I learned most of the stuff from there, and of course the banking side also. Is one of the. Then the other thing was about payments, sending out payment messages like customer transfers, bank transfers, interbank transfers, plus FX transactions or any transaction that happen in the bank. The customer initiates it, the bank converts it into the message sent via Swift to the other banks, and then it goes to the back office application or whatever back office application the banks might be using, and which actually makes the accounting entries, and this is the transaction is made. So I was like a developer who was developing the front end software for customers to enter the transactions into the system and process the transactions, convert it into a Swift message. So like this was the main job of the engineer. And in a small company, we were like 8 or 10 people, and we grew from there. Actually, had some problem with the partners in the and the Indian partner created another company called it Visual Solutions with another two partners from US. And this one actually here. And we also did hiring as part of the hiring team to do the recruitment, the testing, interviews, and all that. And we grew from like 10 people to about 120 people, I think, by 2007. And 2007 is when ECI Worldwide acquired our company, and I'm still with them. So it's like 27 years in the same company. So,
Deepak,
like I
volume a
said, I
little
was
bit higher.
my
Deepak.
software. Okay, and just come closer, I think. Okay.
Yeah, good.
Yes, good now.
Yeah. So on the software development, software based on the client server model, because internet was not the thing yet. It had just, I think, been introduced around 99 or 96, I think. 95, 96. That's when the internet thing. But before that, I think 93, between 93 to 95, because just we knew that there is something called got into it. And the banks also did not adopt internet fully during that time because of the scarcity. I mean, they were all scared about what is out there. It might get hacked and all that, because hacking was like the priority was near to from there. So the banks are very wary about what they adopt and how that some new technologies. So because obviously if you are dealing with money, the risk factor is very high, so they want to always play it safe. So the client server model of development was like the initial years. So we had the front facing the client aspect of the application. That's what we developed. the server application, client application would create packets, or whatever the transaction the customer enters is converted into a packet, and this packet is sent server side software. Uh, After it is obviously was encrypted in the cell, and then this was processed at the bank side, and then the bank processed converted into Swift message. It was sent to the bank, and then subsequently the transaction gets made. So this software we created using VB6 version 3. That was the hinting for rapid application development those days. Then we moved on to VB6, and then Delphi we used actually after we evaluated a few uh, languages. What should we use now to develop the next? Because we were like creating a back office application, and for that we spent some time researching what database to use, what ID to use, ID or language to use to build one. And Delphi was like the new thing that time. Delphi had just been created by Borland. It is, I think, after we used Delphi, they said Delphi is what VB was supposed to be. So whatever was missing in VB was all available in Delphi. And it was a object-oriented language, and it was in Pascal. So that actually uh, uh, introduced us to better coding. So using Delphi, we created a very good back office application with Navigator, which did most of the aspects uh, including LCs and uh, standing instructions, uh, um, the payments. So it will convert from the LC. It will also create whatever payment comes in after the LC is um, satisfied, right? So all the bills load and customer makes a payment, and the payment gets sent from the buyer to the seller, and the seller pays finally. All aspect of the trade transaction was being handled in our application in Delphi. I was involved between VB3, VB6, and then Delphi. So supporting two or three applications. In uh, around 99 or 98, I moved on to customer support or on-site support for supporting our application at the bank site itself. It was Ite Bank as well. It started with the Royal Bank of Canada, and then and that was in Canada for about six, 3 months. Then I moved back, and then came to US to Bank. I was at the bank site for like 3 years until 2004, supporting the application for our company at the bank. And I was involved in all the bank related activities, which included recovery and all. So disaster recovery was like you have another hot site available, hot and ready basically. So in case one site goes down, the other site can continue the business transaction. Right? So the business has to continue. Also called business continuity for the same reason. So uh, during 9/11, there was a shutdown in New York City, in Manhattan, and I was there. So our site went down, and then they brought it up in Long Island. Long Island was like a disaster recovery site, and we did have a successful disaster recovery during that time. Of course, I was not on site there because all the applications we had already tested and it was working fine. prior to that. So that was uh, one of the good experiences that I had about our DR capabilities that we implemented. So from 2004 onwards, I was back at my office, at my company's office, and we were developing software using Java. Another new software, we called it Bali that time, which was again a full front end plus back end, back office. This app server, and after yeah, after doing the Bali stuff, I mean, SCI Worldwide acquired our company. That time we were doing uh, one more software called Aspect, which was again a trade-related software. But SCI Worldwide then switched gears, and we said we are a total payment company now. So all the trade-related software was all sunset or write off to another company, and then right now we are doing payments, full end-to-end payments, right from the card initiation. So ECI Worldwide as a company, when ECI had started, they were only writing software for ATMs. When you use the ATM, whatever software is running there, that software is what our company, ECI Worldwide, for. So that was like the main software initially, but now we are into each and every aspect uh, of the payment and to the payment actually happening, the amount being debited from your account to the messages going from the ATM to the banks or from the bank. If you have initiated and transfer to another person, then another person's bank account. That entire end-to-end transaction, everything we are kind of able to achieve through our softwares at all the various layers in each and every bank that are on the way. So that is exactly what our company is actually involved in doing. Um, can you move to the next slide now? So like I said, I started in a small company uh, and then transitioned to this big company called ACI Worldwide. ACI Worldwide, we are like 4,000 employees across all the continents. Actually, we do cover all the continents, including Australia, Europe, Asia, Americas, in South America also. Um, and the work culture between small company to big company was totally involved. I mean, I could see the difference, how we work as a big company versus how as a small partnership for 250, 100 people. So I was like involved in almost all the aspects. So, like managing IT environment, the company office environment itself. When people, what do you do? You take care of each other, you take care of everybody's needs, you take care of the office, IT, hardware, software, network backups every time, every week there's a weekly backup, you have to take care of that. So you take turns. Uh, of course, HR, like I was saying, we grew from 10 people to like 100. So we did the recruitment. I designed the test papers in the interviews, interview people, then uh, of course, then on the development side, I was already doing the software engineering, creating products, doing the design, development, testing, QA, everything we were doing. Performance engineering also we were doing. For product, some of the products when we had some issues at the customer, we would troubleshoot on-site, on production sometimes. Uh, Plus, we make sure that initial application rollout somehow we would roll it out, but then it will perform whatever was promised, all the features, but it may be slow. We and after the delivery is done, we would work on the performance aspect. We know where we would analyze it, find the weak points, whichever is most vulnerable or least performing area, and then enhance those aspects on priority. Though it's a whole different ball game, performance engineering. And later on, when we did some more, you know, uh, reading on it, that's how we know that whatever we were doing, we were like on track to what the industry standard is on that. So learning on the job as well as understanding what is required, and then including it in your um, assets. So that is what I was involved in. Can you move to the next slide now? So currently in ACI worldwide, I am focused on something called the Upf Framework. It's a universal payments framework development. This framework is what we created for use as a base application development framework. So on top of this framework, the payment applications that ACI worldwide has, including risk and others, uh, those applications are now top of our framework and then deployed at the customer place, or we also deploy it on our own um, data. So this framework itself, it's a huge framework. When we began, it was small, and then now it has become huge. So there are so many modules. 30 modules is what I wrote here, but if you consider a module as a jar, then that's like uh, 100, more than 100 jars there. Um, so it is a huge framework, and this forms, like I said, it forms the basis of all the other products that we sell to the customers. And now on the development side, we are focusing more on containerization, which is like the in thing today. So so far it was just a web application that you deploy on a web application server. But now we want to containerize it, and then you can have the multiple instances of the containers running using Kubernetes and Openshift. Is the other aspect of my work now. Our development of we use various databases. All these days we used to use DB2, Oracle, and Salesforce. Last 2 years we have now adopted PostgreSQL. Postgre is an open source. The main driving factor for adopting this one was it's open source, and the licensing is less. So it saves a lot of money for us, for the customers, and for everyone. Yep, I think that is all about me. Okay, I'll give to Dhanraj.
Thank you, Deepak. Hello, good morning. My name is Dhanraj Gadekar, and thank you to Mr. Walker and for giving a wonderful introduction for to all of us, and also thank you to Dr. Jadhav sir for giving us the information about Yashwantrao Chauhan Institute and the various programs conducted here. I welcome you all for this webinar on software industry and opportunities. So to begin with, let's go with my education background. And you can see my basic education is in BSc Electronics. And I did this from Dayanand College of Arts and Science, Solapur, same like my other friends, Deepak Panchal and Santosh Kulkarni, and your principal, Dr. Jadhav sir. And I'm from Solapur, and all my education I completed in Solapur, including from my primary school, high school, later my BSc, and after completion of BSc, I did MCS, Master in Computer Science, and that I did
Slide,
in
Dhanraj, slide. We can move. Next slide.
I'm still on the same slide, right?
Yeah.
You can't see that?
No.
Here,
You want to go to your
it's not
slide?
changing here.
Oh, it's not changing.
Okay. No.
Okay, it's good now. It's good.
Now
Good.
it's changed.
Yeah, now it is visible.
Okay. Yeah, on my side it was showing. Okay. So after completion of BSc, I did my MCS, Master in Computer Science, and that I did from a local institute called Sunny Computers Center from Solapur. And this, as Deepak said, this MCS diploma course was conducted and applied to Computish Board Trivandrum. And let's see my work experience. You guys able to see the slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, from work experience, I have around 27 years of experience. I'm working in IT field in different industry sectors such as manufacturing, pharmaceutical companies, consumer electronics, and later now I'm from last 10 plus years, I'm working in financial services company. While I was in India, I worked around 5 years, and later sometime in 98, 99, I moved to USA to pursue my further career. And I was lucky in India. When I was in India, I worked for one of the two largest manufacturing companies. That is one of them from Kirloskar, and other one is Kalyani Group, that is Bharat Forge in Pune. First time I got the opportunity to work on Oracle. I guess that was Oracle version 5, Now, if you remember, we are running on Oracle 20. So it's I started very early versions of Oracle in Shivaji Works Limited in Solapur, and that was Shivaji Works Limited is one of the oldest and first company of Kirloskar, and where I learned a lot there. I can say, including Oracle as well as many commercial applications. For example, accounting, inventory, and payroll. Later, after working for year or year and a half with Shivaji Works, then I moved to work for Bharat Forge in Chakan, Pune area. And in Bharat Forge, it was like they were developing this new plant in Chakan, because their main plant they have in Pune, but this Chakan area plant, it was new, and there I got opportunity to set up their EDP department. At that time, we didn't use the term IT, but it mostly in manufacturing company they used to call EDP. EDP is stand for Electronics Data Processing Department. And in Bharat Forge, I got the opportunity to set up the EDP department, their EDP department, and later develop all the applications, including the required applications like accounting, inventory systems, their payroll systems. And later, I lot of things I did development work in Bharat Forge, that on like Oracle Developer 2000, which was new at that time. Earlier, when I was in Shivaji Works, I worked on Oracle Forms and Oracle Reports, ProC, and PL SQL. But later, when in Bharat Forge, I got a chance to work on the new things that are in Oracle, but they are different modules in Oracle. And the Developer 2000 is a GUI tool. GUI is a graphical user interface. Earlier, the Oracle Forms and Oracle Reports, they are GUI, but they are not like today's GUI, what we call, or we can say like, we can see the menu-driven programs, but these menu-driven programs, they are like a character-based graphics. And that was the difference between the Oracle Forms and Oracle Reports, and later using the GUI tool Developer 2000. And after working for a couple of years with Bharat Forge, later I moved to USA, and where I work for rest of other industry sectors with big companies like AT&T, Verizon. These are big telecommunication companies. And if you see from pharmaceuticals, I work for one of the biggest pharmaceutical manufacturing company is Pfizer. Later, I also worked for Sony Corporations, which is a consumer electronics. And later, from last 10 plus years, I'm working in financial services company called Ion Group. And here in Ion Group, we have different financial products, and I'm supporting their Oracle databases for their uh, foreign exchange and treasury software. And these financial softwares, they are used by many of the large and medium-sized corporations like Ford Motors or General Motors, and many of the banks around the world, and they have the module called software. We provide the support, we do the development as well as provide the support and application. We call it the ASP, that is application support provider, and we also we do the we sell the software to the client, and client, they install the software on their premises, and they manage the software and hardware and database. And here in Ion, my role is to support our clients which are using the application support provider model, ASP model, we call cloud. For our clients, we are in the cloud. And if you see what is the treasury is it's called treasury management system, and basically these large companies they use treasury management software system to manage their financial systems or financial data because from a treasury perspective, that is all their cash management or bank management or their financial assets. All these big companies, they have different offices all over the world, and what they do, basically they move their financial assets from one country to other country, or one office to other office in different countries based on their financial profitability. And when they are doing like that, then all this, they track their profits or daily foreign exchange rates that they manage through the treasury management system software. And also the large banks, they do the foreign exchange trading, and these foreign exchange tradings, the back office and front office, they are managed through our financial software, and their databases, that my role is to support that databases. Let's move to next slide, where we'll see in my last 27 years what technology I used. When we started our MCS, at that time, Oracle was a new thing, and we started with DBase 3 Plus or Fox Pro. I'm not sure if you heard the name DBase 3 Plus. Nowadays, I didn't heard in market, but at that time, in 1980s or 90s, it was a popular DBMS. DBMS is called Database Management System, not RDBMS like Oracle, but it's called DBMS, which is used to develop commercial applications like financial accounting or payroll systems or inventory systems. And mainly this device, it was used on a standalone system, and the higher version of device 3 plus, it Fox Pro, and that was supported supported to run on a LAN. That LAN is a local area network, where instead of using only a single machine, we can use multiple machines in a network, and the same application can be used by multiple users at the same time. But still, we call Fox Pro as a higher version of DBMS, we can say, but it's not a RDBMS like Oracle. Later, since I guess from 1994, when I joined Kirloskar Group, I started using Oracle there, and Oracle other technologies and their different modules. Initially, I started working with SQL Plus, PL SQL, and Oracle Forms, ProC, and Developer 2000, which was a GUI tool to develop the forms and reports. But since 1919, since I moved to United States, I started working on Oracle database administration, like that is in short we call it a Oracle DBA. And as part of Oracle DBA, then I started working on database backups, database recovery, or database performance tuning, or database security, that kind of stuff. And while working on Oracle, I got opportunity to work on different OS, like different Unix. Like I got the opportunity to if you see the major Unix system, they are HP Unix, Sun Solstice Unix, or IBM AIX, and later now Linux operating system. So almost all kind of Unix flavors and Linux, Red Hat, and also along with Windows-based systems like Microsoft SQL Server on Windows. Besides these operating systems and databases, Oracle or Database 3 Plus, while working on databases, I got opportunity to work with other aspect of IT industry, like database capacity planning, or database security, or supporting audits, or while working or troubleshooting any database issues. I worked with different teams, like networking teams or server OS Unix administrators, to troubleshoot the issues. Like the issue could be related to network or firewall ports, or with the server itself. So all this, my work experience and education background, all this. Let's move to next slide. Next slide, we will talk about software industry opportunities and career path in IT industry. And here, before we go into this quick question, do you have any questions, or
We have a question in the chat box. So the question is from Shekhar Mukund Gumaste. How to get software developer job in the USA in the current situation?
Yeah, we are going to discuss this in next slides. As we go, then we have the IT technology and career path, IT management. In that, we'll discuss further. And to answer that specific question, how to get software development or software developer job in United States, there are different path for that. One thing, you can join a software company in India, or any company, other manufacturing or any other company who have office in United States as well as in India. And while working for that company, you can get inter-office transfer and come to United States. This is one path, and this is the easiest path nowadays. The other path is like you start working for a IT industry company, like big companies like Infosys, Wipro, and they have software development ongoing in United States as well as in other countries. And through that companies, you can easily go to United States or any other countries like UK, Australia, or Singapore. And that is also a easiest path. And personally, in my case, if I tell, when I was working in Pune in Bharat Forge, I was working for a manufacturing company. And as I said, we used to call it EDP department. EDP means like this electronic data processing. And most of people, other teams, they are non-IT people are working with us. And EDP is a small department there. And I was working like handling the EDP department there. And my goal was to get started working in IT industry like Infosys, Wipro, or Kale Consultancy in Pune, that kind of companies, so that the whole environment is IT environment instead of like manufacturing company and working in their EDP department. But the good thing is, while working in EDP department, I got a chance to learn many things. So many things where I got chance to work on technology as well as commercial applications. I got to know many things besides technology, like how the accounting is done, or payroll system is done, or inventory system. What is inventory, or what is it used for? Which we don't get that kind of knowledge in our basic education, or even in if you go to further education, you don't get that much knowledge unless you are doing MBA or diploma in business management. Then you may get some little ideas. but this functional knowledge where you get in when you are working, and I got that knowledge in manufacturing, and that knowledge it was very useful for me to move forward, where my goal was to just go to IT industry company, and what I used to do, go every weekend, go for a walk-in interview, like a casual interview. We are not like seriously trying, but go for a casual interview and then see how it goes. So I did like couple of interviews, and one day I found like one of the US companies, they came for interviews in Pune and they arrange walk-in interviews in Pune, Mumbai. And when I went there, and that company director, and they so impressed with my technical skill on Oracle. But besides that technical skill, they are very impressed about my commercial application knowledge, and they said immediately like that, we need this kind of people where they know the technical stuff as well as all the commercial applications. And
so, Dhanraj, sorry to interrupt. Right, so we have a lot more questions that
right,
we have to handle.
and that's why like I was saying these are like on 3 paths where we can select to come to USA. There I got selected through H1. I did my H1, and then I moved to United States to work for a US company directly.
Okay, so we are going to move to the next question.
Yeah, move to the next slide, and here we are going to discuss about IT career path, which we can
So
divide.
we have a lot more. So we have a lot more questions in the chat also. You want to handle them now, or you want to go ahead later?
I think should we maybe it's better to handle in question answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We
So,
handle question answer hour.
Okay. Okay, but we will answer all the questions that are answered that are asked in the chat. So that's not a problem.
So to move forward, I will hand over to Mr. Santosh Kulkarni to speak on career path in IT technology.
So
Santosh?
I have one suggestion. Can we take a 5-minute break, and then we will start again? Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Is it
Dr. Jadhav?
Dr. Jadhav and Shinde, sir?
Yeah, sir. We'll take a short break.
Right.
Yeah.
But a student remain on the online Zoom.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
Yeah. Okay,
Still,
we'll be back in like just 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. Still, students are requested, if they have any questions, they put in chat box, or anybody from student want to interact, please unmute or raise their hand. In that short break, we'll take students' opinion about this session. Anybody from you want to interact? Or want to say something about, or you want anything different? If you have any question. If you have IT industry related questions, feel free to ask. Or you want to suggest something, your point of views, you can put. Any educational opportunities, career opportunities that you want to discuss. As we have a short break for resource person only, we are online. So we can utilize that time by interacting with students. We forward your message to resource person also. Yeah. Raj Deshmukh want to ask. Raj, please unmute yourself and
Sir,
yeah. Yeah, good morning, Raj.
good morning, sir. Sir, any special course about the subject server telling us that has demand in the market?
A special course about
About the subject server telling RDBMS or the database management.
yes, yes. A resource person will answer your question when they join. We will forward it to them.
Okay, sir.
What is your opinion about the session which is going on? What do you feel?
So it is very helpful, sir.
You, yeah. So we'll pass your question to the resource persons.
Yes, sir.
Any other want to interact? Uh, Chat box question we will take at the last in question answer hour, but we have opportunity to interact with resource person as we have on short break for resource person. Anybody from you want to interact? Sabale Suhas, you want to say something? Yeah. Sir, can we start?
Yeah. Santosh.
Yeah.
Santosh is on mute. I guess we need to unmute
Yeah.
him.
Yes, sir. Yeah, welcome back, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the break. And first of all, I want to say that, very good presentation by Gadika sir. And also I appreciate all the questions. Those are very good questions, and we will try to handle each one of them. And it takes a lot of understanding and we have to understand how the situation is. We have gone through that, and especially since the market is very competitive, and we will try to handle all of the questions, and we will be here until all of them are answered. If you don't have answers to some of them, we will make sure that we find out the answers and give it to you. So the next, the slide that we are going to talk about is what is the IT career path, right? So there are two branches to the IT career path, or at least two branches, I would say. One is on the technical side, and another is on the management side. So, and there's not a, it's not like they're completely mutually exclusive. There's, you can do certain technical things and the management as well. But we are going to talk about the two different aspects of it. It's not, we are not saying that, they cannot be done together, but you want to know what you're going to do, or where your interests lie, so that, we can put more emphasis on those aspects when you're trying to plan your career. And we do understand that, there are some students who are younger and they have a couple of years to go before they graduate. But it is good to know, and it is good to have these things going on in the back of your mind, so when you do graduate, you are ready, right? So the question is basically, I'm learning all these cool things, I'm learning all these things in the webinar, and I'm reading all of these things, but what does it amount to? What can I do so that I will do something and someone will pay me? That's the basic idea, right? You study something, and then you have to go and do something which someone else is going to pay for you, right? So it is in general, you can say that at least some part of the jobs in IT start with some sort of programming, right? And when you talk about programming, naturally the question comes, and that was also one of the questions in the chat, and we will tackle that which language do we use, and which language should we use? What are the different languages that we can use that are in demand, so that I can get a job, right? So I will start with the languages that I have used, and then we will also take the opinion of some of the other speakers, either Mr. Panchal or Mr. Gadikar, right? So I've used a lot of Java. I've been using that. I mean, just in the last couple of years, I've stopped using it, but I've used it a lot of Java. So Java is still going strong. There's a lot of enterprise software that gets written in Java. They might say that it is an old language, or it is becoming obsolete, or anything like that. But don't believe any of that. There's still a lot of use for the Java language. In fact, there's newer and newer versions of Java coming, which has the new features, which Mr. Panchal can talk a little bit more about. And I'm talking about Java as a language, and also Java as a platform, because it has lots of libraries that help you do a lot of things. And I'm also talking about the application servers and that it uses. And again, I'm going to defer it to Mr. Panchal. Another competitor to the Java platform is the .NET, which came from the Microsoft side of the things. And .NET is also a platform. You can do a lot of things: database, the graphical user interface, and lots of frameworks are there. And it is also very useful, very much in demand, and you can get almost the equal number of jobs. I don't have the actual numbers. Maybe Java is a little bit ahead, but you cannot go wrong with either one of them, right? And so these are two major languages for the application development, and the .NET is obviously a platform. You either write in VB or the C# or something. And if you know Java, then you can learn C#. And if you know C#, then you can learn Java pretty quickly, right? As far as other languages are concerned, there is a vast majority or vast number of languages that are used for scripting. And so scripting, what has become now is not the scripting that used to be before. So for example, if you take JavaScript, it is being used to develop applications on their own, not just the UI and not just on the browser, but on the server side as well. So for scripting, you can use Python, you can use Ruby, Perl is used on the Unix side a lot, and it's it's also used in the website as the PHP, and Groovy is also used for scripting. All of them are used somewhere or the other, right? So the key thing is that, you have to choose the right language for the right task. So, what is, there might be some project where Java is useful, and there might be some other project where Python will be more useful. Like, for example, if you take data, so if you have to do a lot of data manipulation, of course you can do that in Java also. But what is easier? Python is easier. Python comes with libraries that can help you manipulate the data very, very easily. And the community of people in Python, that also matters a lot, that they understand data really well and they like Python. So it is, and if you want to branch into the machine learning as well, that also you can use Python there. When it comes to the databases, Mr. Gadekar has mentioned a lot of the databases, but the main ones that are currently in demand is Oracle, SQL Server from Microsoft, MySQL is also there. Postgres SQL also, Mr. Panchal had mentioned. All of these are databases, and if you learn one, at least at a superficial level, you should be able to understand any of them. Of course, there are different databases. They have sometimes different focuses. So it can be a little bit different, but you pick one and you see what the opportunity is, and then you learn it. And so anytime if you go to the interview, you should be able to say that, hey, I worked in Oracle more, but I can always pick up the other databases because I've at least seen them and I know a little bit about the differences. You have to do some research. And another class of databases is the NoSQL databases. Those are coming up modern. So the data is stored not in terms of rows, but in terms of documents. So it is useful for very rapid insertion of records. It is not used for, so for example, if you have to collect a lot of data and then that's where they are used. So a basic knowledge of all of the databases should not be a problem. We should do it. And then at the same time, whenever, so all of these languages and the databases, they are working on some operating system, right? So it helps to have a basic knowledge of Windows, Linux, and Unix. And of course, you can also go a little bit deep into that. You can become the Windows administrator. That also is a career path. Our team, our company employs a lot of Windows administrators, as well as the Linux and the Unix administrators as well. So that's also career path. So I have friends who started with the programming and then liked the databases so much that they went into the databases. Some went into the Linux. So all kinds of careers are there. We just have to find your niche and be excellent in something. And also, so you have to have possibly one or two things that you have a lot of depth in, but you also have to have a breadth, so that you can pick up anything that is in demand. Network and infrastructure, as you can imagine, there's local area networks and wide area networks and the cloud network, and there's a lot of demand for network administrators, and some of them can be paid very handsomely. So if you have taken courses in the networks, it helps. And also some of the certifications that we are going to talk about later, that also helps a lot. Security, there's something that I'm working on. Security is also becoming a huge topic. So security can be the application security as well as the network security. And so there's tons of things that you can learn on your own and also take the certifications. I wanted to defer a little bit to Mr. Panchal. He can talk about Java in a little bit more detail because his knowledge about that is very current. Deepak?
Yeah, so on the Java language, my journey in Java around 2004, I was still in its infancy. There was like Java 3.1 and not too many things or things were still developing. Those days, I think Spring Framework was just coming up, so it was like a framework using Java uh, for creating applications or for making sure making your web applications to make your developing of a web application faster. So having knowledge of Spring Framework, and right now even in our company we are using Spring Framework. We are all out into Spring Framework right now, and we are using Spring for um, as our basis, even in the UPI. Apart from Spring, there was another area in Java that took attention, that was the modularization concept. So Java inherently supported a few modularization in the sense you could create jars as, as an independent module, but not too much support was there, from SOAS service-oriented architecture perspective. So for that, I think there was one independent technology or independent, what do you call it, standard was developed called OSGI. This standard was adopted, I think, in 2000, yes, around 2003, 2004 only. And it developed. I think there are a few good examples which are built on top of OSGI standard, like the famous IDE in Java, which is Eclipse, plus even IBM's WebSphere application server. I think they also switched from traditional Java to OSGI. They went all out into OSGI. To good modularization standard, in the sense you could have your services, you could have versions of the services, you can break up, bring it down dynamically, install new services dynamically, remove old services, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. So those kind of technologies, I think, if you learn, if you know how to use them, I think it adds a lot of value here. Apart from that, I think there's other aspects on Java like POP, aspect-oriented programming. That is another thing you can actually look into. Uh, that actually solves a lot of other concerns, in the sense if you already have an application and now you want to introduce something new or change certain behavior across multiple concerns in the application product. So how do you do that? So that is where EOP comes into play, and it helps you a lot. So I think you can, I think those are few aspects I want to touch base on the Java. Okay, after you, Santosh.
Yeah, so I think we'll move to the next slide, and where we will hear from Mr. Gardekar about the other part of the IT career path, which is IT management.
Mhm.
Yeah, before we move to the next career path, I would like to add a few things quickly in technology career path on databases. If you take any databases, there will be like you will be working on two different things. Like one is like development, and or you will be doing the database administration. And if you are into development, then you will be working on like Oracle, SQL Plus, or PL SQL, Oracle procedures, Oracle functions, Oracle triggers. Lot of there are things where Oracle developers they need to work on, and including the JDBC, which is used for connectivity between Java and Oracle databases. And the other part on Oracle databases, it comes is DBA, database administration. And in DBA also, you will see there are two types of DBA categories. Like one, we can say like you may have a term application DBA, or second one is production support DBA. So what these two DBAs, their roles and responsibility, they are almost same. They have same knowledge, but when in large companies, you will see different roles and different responsibilities. And for application DBA, they work closely with the developers and the application, and their responsibility is include like creating the schemas or the objects like tables, indexes, and see the performance for that particular related to that application. That responsibility comes under application DBA. And the other part is other category you can say is production support DBA. And production support DBA role is to create the production databases, and then you have database security, database audit. Then most important task of the production support DBA is backup and restore or recovery. Recovery means if you have something went bad and database need to restore from the backup, then you need the restore there. And you may have backup, or you need to do the recovery of the database by applying the transaction logs or archive logs. That comes under production support DB. And other important task is performance tuning. Performance tuning is such a demanding role that you need to be ready all the time. When you are a production support DBA, you need to be ready whenever there is an issue, and the issue could be anything. For example, the issue start with performance issues, something running slow, and for that the issue could be with the database or with the application or with network or with the server itself. So as a DBA, you need to find out how to troubleshoot the performance issues and see if the issue is with the server, or if server is okay, see if it's database. If database is okay, see if any particular query or code is running slow, or see if any new implementation is done and that causing any issues. So that is a demanding role, and both the application DBA and production support DBA, they are important and critical roles. It's not like one is important and other one is not that critical. Both are critical. Okay, we'll move to our next career path in IT, that is IT management. And this second category of IT management, to begin working in this category, it is expected to have at least some kind of experience on different kind of technology. It's not necessary you need to work on all technologies. However, if you have knowledge in all fields, that's good. And they need to have some kind of experience in a particular industry or industry sector to begin working in the management field. If they don't have too much technical experience, if they have any industry sector experience, that also help to start working in management field. And the main difference what we see in technology career path and in management career path is that you may begin working in any technical area which you like in technical path. For example, if you like Java, then you start working in Java, but later you got opportunity to work on .NET, you may jump on .NET. At the same time, you may be working with the databases and doing database programming like writing procedure, triggers. That comes in technology. However, in management career path, is that you may begin working in in one field, and then from that you will growing into the same area. Here we can say in management career, there is a hierarchy. You are growing from one level to another level, or you can see like one above the other according to their roles and responsibilities. And to name a few career path in IT management, we can see here Scrum Master, that is Agile, or IT managers. Then we have project manager. Then later comes product manager. Product manager is a like bridge between business and technology. Who that person who have the all the latest technology in market, as well as what kind of technology that specific product is running on, and also he know the business requirements and business uh, requirement for new features or existing feature. So, and he manage the whole product, and he is responsible for the development and maintenance of that specific product. Here, when I say product, that means any particular application. And the next career path after that, you will see IT directors, and later at the highest level in IT industry, you will see CIO, that is Chief Information Officer, or CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And this is the highest position. And here the CIO and CTO, they are responsible for the whole IT division in the organization. They are responsible for the technological as well as the IT management, and you will see all these management path. They eventually they report to CIO, CTOs through their respective hierarchies. And to if you see this agile or Scrum Master, this is is used in development, where there are two different methods. One is now popular is agile method, and other one is waterfall method. And in these two methods, agile follows an incremental approach, where the waterfall is a sequential design process. So considering this agile incremental approach, it's agile is a little flexible. Therefore, the development process can start, or you can do the changes after development started, or in fact, you develop something and then also you can have change and you can do the changes. But in waterfall method, it theoretically it doesn't allow any change once they start the development. And the other difference, what I see in agile method, the testing of the product or your code is done while the developers are developing the code. But in waterfall method, you will see first developer develop the products, and then they pass to testing or QA for testing purpose, and then it go to further for implementation and go into the live stage. That's the basic difference. Okay, let's move to next slide. And next slide is how to grow. This is a important thing everyone want to know. Like once you start working in any organization, you may be starting in technical field or management field, but your ultimate goal is to do progress and grow yourself. And if you are working in a technical skill, what you can do there to grow yourself, keep learning new technologies, new things. Like if you are a Java developer, then don't just stick with Java development, but also see how database programming is done, database development. Even though if you don't have any skills, try to learn the skills and do some coding in database or some other languages, learn other language. And once you are working on that specific application, then later try to gain some knowledge, functional knowledge of that application. That application may be any application, like as simple like a payroll system or HR system, where there are many sub functions in that payroll system. Like as a Java programmer, you may be knowing like that. Oh, okay, I got the task to calculate the salary, and some formula is provided to you. Based on that, by putting this formula in Java programming, and your goal is to calculate the salary and store in the database. That's your goal. However, from the functional perspective, you should try to understand what are their different salary categories. Like salary, maybe different type of salary categories. Like employees, they may have like hourly salary, or they may have like yearly salary. Based on that, you will be calculating, or they may have different workers categories there, and try to understand that. Like try to gain the whole functional knowledge about the salary, how the salary works. Like basically, salary means you are not going to do the salary every month, but before that, you should be getting the data of their every employee's their uh, working hours and or their absentees or leaves. Based on that, you will be calculating that kind of functional knowledge. You should try to acquire, and this will help you to grow further and to get more opportunities. Or if something any comes issue, then it's easy to understand. And not even stop there, but you should try to gain further knowledge once into that specific domain. Like this payroll system, it comes under HR. So you should try to learn. So what is the HR system here? What basically HR people they are using our software. They may be using different things like for payroll or employee hiring, or their employee maintaining employees performance. That kind of they should have different applications. You should try to learn and gain that domain knowledge. So then it doesn't matter in which company you go, you have that whole knowledge about that particular domain. So you can tell them like this, you have knowledge about the whole domain, not only technology, but specific applications and domain. And to continue with that, you can acquire the leadership skills so that you can handle the whole IT applications for that particular domain. And if you keep like working in technology field, then you can keep learning new technical things, like learn new languages. If you know Java, then try to learn .NET. If you know Java, .NET, then try to learn Python or JavaScripting.
Dhanraj,
Or
time check.
oh, sure. Yeah, and the other things you can keep learning in new technology. And the other part is to keep growing in any industry. Learning is a very important thing here. Doesn't matter you learning in the functional knowledge or your technical field, but keep learning new things, which is very helpful for from a growth perspective. And that's it from a growth perspective. And other thing in the growth, I would like to tell, you can see learning from few companies, they give the opportunity to do the masters or any technical certifications, and company itself, they provide the cost for the learning and certification. You can take that opportunity. And many companies, they like people who do their masters or post graduations and because it's very useful for your personal development as well as company's growth, because company can say, okay, they have like several educated employees. So with that, we'll move to next slide. I will pass it to Santosh Kulkarni to talk on what are the current IT trends. Santosh?
Yeah. So so a lot of these slides have topics that that the topics that overlap a little bit. So I will try to not talk a lot about things that have been talked about already. So, and first thing I want to make sure that this is not an exhaustive list, right? There might be a lot of other trends that we might have missed or that are still coming up, right? So, and which again, so you should be constantly updating your data or updating your information by visiting websites and searching and reading the blogs and stuff like that, right? So having said that, there's at least these trends are quite hot right now. The cloud computing, that is not going anywhere because people or the companies have spent so much money on it, so much investment on it, right? So what cloud computing is and where it has reached right now, that is important to see. So when we started our career, we started with a lot of the client server style of computing, right? So the client had some processing power and the server had a lot of processing power. So that's how the processing load was distributed, right? So a lot less on the client and a lot more on the server, right? And then it actually depends. So sometimes the client can be thick and there can be a lot of processing happening on the client also. But later on some other trends came, and then so how the cloud trend is described, right? What is the compelling reason why the companies want to move to cloud, right? So when the companies have to do all the computing on the servers and the computers that are in the company, what happens is that that's a very expensive proposition, right? So you have to maintain them, you have to lease, or you have to buy the hardware. The hardware can go bad. Then you have to maintain the operating system level patches. You have to pay for the licenses, and you have to pay for a lot of other things. So say they have to maintain a data center, which means all the people who have to manage the data center, the electricity cost, the building cost, and all of that, right? So then this new option came that hey, why don't I outsource that that capability or that functionality to the companies that are experts in this, and like Amazon or Google or Microsoft, which has that Azure thing, right? So what they do is they have this ton of big bank of servers in all the regions, right? They can be all regions of the US and then India and Singapore, Australia, wherever, right? So, and they offer the companies that hey, you can rent these computing services and use it to the extent that you want, and then you can release them whenever you don't want. So that saves money and also the hassle. They don't have to employ as many people to maintain that. So that's why it is getting a lot of attention, and there's a lot of jobs for the people who understand how the cloud works, how to administer them, and how to sell them, and all kinds of things, right? Openshift and Kubernetes, Mr. Panchal also touched upon that a little bit when he was talking about his career. This falls in the realm of containerization. So basically, they took the concept of a virtual machine, but they basically removed the operating system part of it, right? Because that's a shared resource, right? So that it becomes modular, it becomes it can be scaled very easily, seamlessly, without any knowledge from the client. So the keywords to understand that is, the Docker, how to make Docker containers, how to make sure that they interact with each other, and all of that. Other is the CI/CD and the DevOps. So CI stands for continuous integration. CD stands for continuous deployment. So which means that earlier you used to write code and then you used to throw it over the fence, saying that, hey, the operations side should deploy it and then, maintain it and then make sure that, it's all good. So now everything is scripted, and you write your code and you put it into the pipeline, and things are automatically integrated and automatically deployed. So that shortens the release cycle, and so as soon as the code is written, it can be accessed by the customer, so to speak. It's not exactly like that. You still have to do a lot of testing, but a lot of the testing is automated, and you find out if you broke something immediately. So you don't have to wait until the testing cycle to find that out. So that is the CI/CD, and DevOps kind of leads into that because, as I said, earlier, you used to throw it over the fence and to the operations sides, but now the two roles are kind of merging. So you are developer, but you're also responsible to make sure that your software runs smoothly and it is maintained smoothly and all of that. So a lot of jobs, the DevOps, if you understand the operations and if you understand a little bit of dev, there is a ton of jobs for you. Polyglot computing also, we touched upon that a little bit. Mr. Gadekar spoke that if you learn one language, that is good, but if you know more, that is better. So if let's say if you know Java, Ruby, and Python, so there's a good chance your chances of hiring get better because the polyglot is applied to people as well as it is applied to the projects as well, because there might be a huge project, one part can use Java and one part can use Python. So if you know both and if you know how they interact with each other, that helps a lot, right? I think that's it. Mr. Gadekar or Panchal, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think you covered Santosh everything.
Okay.
Yeah, most of like AWS, that's currently we are using as a cloud. So instead of like AWS, basically all the servers and are managed by Amazon, and we don't have any access to the actual server, but you will get work on only the database part. That is what is cloud.
So one thing I want to add here, which I just forgot. So there were some of the questions that were asked, what online courses I can, so there might be others, which I don't know, and you can ask about that locally. But one thing I would encourage you to do, and it is also on my to-do list, is basically you can create an account in the AWS on Amazon and use the free tier to learn a lot of things for free. There's a lot of information on the internet, and if you learn that, and if you can get a project, and you can showcase that project, that will go a long way um, uh, towards securing a good job. So just like to throw that out.
Let's move to next slide. Deepak?
Yep.
Yeah, you want to take this?
Can you move to the next slide?
We are in the next slide. You can't see? Let me see.
No, there is some issue. I think somehow it just stays there. It changes on your side to go back and go up or something, do something.
Yeah, now it is moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's updated. Yeah, so briefly on the previous slide, about the cloud. There is also something called private. There are the phone companies custom consumers to have their own cloud uh, accounts, so they can put and all take on your phone, automatically goes to the cloud account, and then they manage it. So that is another and they call it private cloud. For each you pay for that separately, but it is managed by them and it is private for you. So I think that is another concept that is picking up. So coming to the opportunities and trends in the post-COVID-19 era. So COVID-19 and pre-COVID-19, right? So we were already having something about working from home culture. Mostly in the IT industry, you must have heard people were having the luxurious or some people were having the luxury of working from home. So what happened now after COVID-19, because you just can't go out from home and come to offices, is working from home or remote working has become the norm. So uh, this was already, uh, the infrastructure, everything was in place, but it was never a norm, or the industry did not accept it. They were, some of the companies, they were actually mandating people to at least come to offices and work from home only during emergencies, or some, if it is some extreme circumstances, you can't come to office, then you can work from home. But now this has become a norm, rather. Now they are going towards or becoming very lenient on allowing people to work from home, so that remote working is like become really standard now. And I think this data has been taken from the Gartner website. Gartner is a research-based company. They conduct researches and publish their reports. So one of the top item on their report, I think the top three are here in the slide. So increasing in the remote working is like the topmost thing on a post-COVID era now. And looks like it is going to become the norm, because a lot of the companies are now shutting down or reducing the office spaces. So this cuts their cost, because offices means maintenance. There is a lot of maintenance overhead and cost involved. It suddenly becomes half or zero. I mean, that is a big thing that the companies are now suddenly realized. Second point on this one was the expanded data collection. This is basically touching upon data that is being collected on the internet, either doing on the social sites, like Twitter and Facebook, and a huge amount of data gets collected by all these sites, including Google. I mean, even if you have any person reading the emails, Google, they are all reading it. They have their own scripts that are passing, understanding what the email is about, suggesting you is just one aspect of what they are showing an email and you try to reply. It will automatically suggest you know what kind of reply you should give sometimes. But what goes on behind is what all this data collection is about, and that has increased now. Post COVID, now everybody is just sitting home, and what do? Is they just go on the internet. So all the data is being collected and it is being processed. So that has expanded a lot after COVID. I think that is the next thing that has come out. Third thing is the contingent worker expansion. So now companies, after the shutting down the company offices, they have realized, they can work with or make do with some people, or, they can lay off a lot of the other unneeded people. So they identified a lot of the redundant areas that they were actually paying salaries for, which was an overhead, and now those are all contingent. Those are all removed, and only the required workers are only working for the companies. There were a lot of layoffs happening, and a lot of people who are really required for the company only are being retained and they continue to work. So those were the top three on the Gartner side. The other ones I can briefly touch upon is the AI and machine learning, which has increased. Uh, like I was saying, because of the expanded data collection, data needs to be processed. Plus, for automation, COVID, because the manpower has reduced. So less manpower means more machine, or you need an alternative which is viable for your business. So, and what more than automated systems? Automated systems means like programs running them, and if there are programs, then you need to build some smartness. So you need to have AI and you need to have machine learning. Both go hand in hand, but they are both different too in certain aspects. Thing I want to briefly touch upon is the Internet of Things. That has also, you know, uh, increased. What exactly is IoT or Internet of Things? It's basically all your devices connected to each other or talking to each other over a network. Usually it is the internet. And all when you say this IoT stuff, this initially it was just a few devices, but now it has almost anything you buy, you have to have Bluetooth, or you have to have uh, some Wi-Fi connectivity enabled even in your smartwatch or phone. Phone obviously, it obviously comes with Wi-Fi and all that, internet connection. Then there is, your dryer, washer, dryer also they didn't believe. Refrigerators, they all talk over the internet now. And you can control those devices either through your phone, through your smartwatch. Your smartwatch also has certain apps. You can control stuff. So those things they have increased. I think it is going to increase even more now because uh, now nobody wants to touch the surfaces too. So you just touch whatever you have and then work with it and let it happen remotely somewhere. So I think that's That's where we are post-COVID. I think a lot of automation is going to see of data.
Very good point, Deepak. Very good point.
So
Next,
let's move on to the next one.
sure. Santosh, you want to go through this?
Yeah, I can start through this. So there was, I will also handle one question that came in the chat, that what is the interview process? So I'll just say a couple of sentences about that. So every company is different, but there is certain things that are common, right? So a lot of companies have the screening interviews. So somebody will just ask you on the phone for about 30 to 45 minutes and just ask you general questions. So it can have two parts. It can have the HR type of interview, what do you do, and what is your experience and what do you want, and all of that, right? So, and the other is the technical. There will be basic questions, if you don't know that, you won't even go to the next part of the interview. So it starts with the screening, and then you might be asked to come face to face, and face to face in interview can have a couple of sections. One is they can actually ask you to write code on the program, on the board, explain stuff about the design, how would you design this and how would you design that. In my company, we even we give the people a laptop and then ask them to even code a little bit. So that, and then there can be group discussions, and then they can also be, so in our company, what they do is they give some requirements and ask you to design a system. It is like a play system, but yeah, anyway. So coming back to what are the interview tips, I will be brief because we are running short on time. So communication, you might have heard that, it's very important. So communication can mean a lot of things, but the way I mean it is, whatever you write or whatever you say, it should be intelligible to the other person, right? So plan to write clearly, use standard language, and write to the point. Don't be too long-winded, right? And same thing while talking also. So some people have this thing that, is my English good enough? So that usually doesn't matter that much, as long as you're able to convey your ideas. Using the right words is important, so pay some attention to that. Read more, listen to the videos on the YouTube, the technical videos, and then you should be good. And mostly practice, and practice. So that will help you. One question that they ask many times is, identify your strong and weak points. So, what is your strong point? What is your weak point? You should practice, and you should figure out, what answers you want to give, so that they feel as if, you are saying them from, you are saying them from your heart, right? It should not feel that you read somewhere and then you're just memorizing that, right? And a strong point, if you're strong in Java, say that. If you're strong in teamwork or communication, say that. But make sure that you say something technical. Only teamwork is not going to cut it, right? Yes, everybody does teamwork, right? And there's no way to tell, right? If you are not. So say something technical. Or one good thing is you can say problem solver, but if you say something abstract like that, be prepared to follow it up with some example. So we had this project, and we were facing this problem, and then so this is how I solve it, something like that. a lot of the times, say you're applying for a position in IBM, right? You should know what IBM does, how big it is, and so do some research on the internet. Ask around, what kind of jobs they have, stuff like that. So that helps. When they ask, why should IBM hire you, or why did you apply to IBM? You should have the answer. So you should have the right answers for them, right? The common interview question, there is a lot of interview questions on the internet. Don't believe all of them, but just try to get some ideas, what they can ask. But don't memorize the answers. Try to understand what the question is asking and look for the answers yourself. So a lot of the times I've seen that answers which are given right after the question, those are not very good answers. They might be misleading, they might be half, and it should also come in your own words. Other thing is, think positive and avoid complaints. I will tackle the second one first. Don't complain about anything, like job situation is this, that our college didn't teach me this, or if this is your second or third job, my company is bad, or do nothing of that sort, right? Everything should be positive, and just concentrate on what you can do, what you did to. So even if you mention that there was some problem somewhere, concentrate on how you solve that problem, right? And think positive is let's say someone asks you some question and then you know only half of it, or you don't know it well. Don't announce it. Don't say that I really don't know, but okay, so either you say it or you don't say it, right? So you don't know what they don't know, right? Your knowledge, your half knowledge might be better than theirs, or your half knowledge might be enough for them. So just use, be positive, be confident. You have prepared well. And first of all, do prepare well for the interview. Don't go casually. Sometimes you can, right? But also think of the person on the other side of the table. He has or she has reserved some time for you, 2 hours. She has prepared the questions and all that. And if you go like casually, without studying anything, that also looks bad on you. So be respectful, right? And yeah, I mean, go through a lot of mock interviews. Ask your teacher, ask your seniors, if they would take the interview for you, so that practice. And that helps. And once you give like 5, 7, 10 interviews, you will figure out what works and what doesn't, and you can go with that. That is it.
Yeah, I would like to add, be honest. Right? So whatever answers you give on the interview, be honest about it.
Yeah, so if you don't know something, you can try and answer it if you have a little bit of knowledge. But if you absolutely don't know, don't try to wing it too much. At some point you have to say, no, sorry, I don't know this. And that is many times acceptable, many times. There's no one who knows all the answers, right? If you go to something, if you know absolutely every single answer, then you probably should be looking for some other job which is more challenging. I'm just joking, but just think about it.
Yeah.
Go to next slide. Deepak, you would like
This
to...
is my favorite slide, by the way.
Okay. Thanks, Santosh, for the interview tips. Yeah, so the lessons, I just want to touch base. This is basically few points that we thought of and listed. Not necessarily everything, but these are like one of the main ones that that will be really helpful for everyone. So the first point, do what you like, right? And there's two parts to it. Right? Do what you like. Get someone to pay for it. Right? So if you take up any job, right, make sure that you are doing something that you like doing it. You don't want to do something because most of the time, right? Your job is what? 9 to 5, right? Or 9 to 6. It's 8 hours. Major part of your day you are spending doing something. And if you are doing something that you don't like, then you're actually hurting yourself. You're hurting what the work that you're doing. You're hurting the company. You don't know it, but then in, indirectly you're hurting your own health also because it affects your health because you're sad for some reason because you don't like doing something day in and day out, but you are still doing it, right? So I think this is like the basic thing. So do what you like and take up a job or whatever job you take, right? Whatever language based or is it a managerial uh, job, or it could be a small programmer or analyst or something. But if you don't like that one, you are sure you are free to shift to some other area. Talk around, look for some other area, or you can talk to your manager and say, okay, I don't like doing this. I want to, I'm more interested in doing something else, and then you move. But make sure that you do what you like, and then you have your company pay for it, not this company, somebody else. If you don't like programming, you don't like computers, you can move to something else. Yeah, you're not forced to do computers just because everybody is doing computers, right? That is also there. We are doing computers, you should be doing computers, right? Main points that you should always go by because you're going to make your career, you're going to live your life, you want to be happy in the end. And how can you be happy if you're not doing what you like, right? So I think that's one of the main basic part of life, I think. And the second part is on the computer side, right? Like even the Dhanraj Gadekar mentioned, like always keep an open mind, right? Because you have to be always ready to learn new things. And to learn new things, you cannot learn new things if your mind is not emptied of all the other stuff and made open. To accept new stuff, new ideas, new ways of doing things, or anything new. You should be able to learn. Keep it open. Keep your mind open. And the third point on top of that is make it a point to learn something new every day. It could be anything small, right? As small as uh, for some new feature of an editor that you never knew existed and it's still there, right? It's like, for example, alt and up arrow or alt and down arrow. I did not know this, until suddenly I just by mistake pressed on one line and the line moved. And it was so helpful because programming, most of the time you do copy paste, copy paste. You can simply shift the line. So some small things, but then with such things you can keep on learning. Just one thing if you learn new every day, need not be even in the field of computers. It could be in any other field of life, right? I mean, like using a plier or the locking plier or something like screwdriver in a different way. You don't know. So make it a point to learn something new every day, and, and that actually helps you in your personal life as well as in your too. And the last point I want to make here was be confident of what you know, right? So this helps. I mean, even in the interview, you said whatever you have to be honest, but then you also have to be confident of what you know. If you don't know, you just say I don't know. But then if you know, you should be confident. You otherwise, sometimes in the interviews also, they will take one subject and tell you, this doesn't work like this, but this works like this. And if you know that it is not that way, and that it is some, and you know the correct way, you should be confident about it and say that, sir, you are wrong. This is the way it works. And that actually, those kind of tests do happen during interviews and personal interviews and all. And they basically test you, how confident you are about what you have learned. And if you are confident and you can talk about it and you can convince people about it, then nothing like it. Right? So yeah, those were the lessons I think I want to close with. Okay. So shall we take the questions now?
Yeah, so I've been answering some of them in the
Yeah.
chat. So why don't I do this? Why don't I go through that and then I will ask, and some people, so you guys can answer them. Okay. How has the industry changed since you all started your career 20 plus years? Let's start with the Dhanraj, and then we can jump in, Deepak.
Mhm.
Yeah, the industry changed a lot. Initially, when, as I said, when I started working, I was working on Device 3 and Fox Pro, which are like DBMS single system. From there, we moved to using client server technology. After that, we used for the internet. You may be remembering there was a Oracle product, Oracle used to call it I, where all the web development came, and then later the new technology like Java and all kind of web tools, web programming came, and after that, then the new thing started from internet to cloud. Everything is going to cloud, so people don't want to invest money in like big hardwares and like data centers. So all these now we don't see like these big data centers anywhere, and mostly everyone is started using cloud. Like people can easily just create the account on AWS or Google or Microsoft Cloud and start using building the applications. That's what I see like industry is changing.
Yeah, that is very well put. I don't have anything to add actually. Deepak?
Yeah. Yeah. Even in
Okay,
mine,
so
actually, like,
no, go ahead.
yeah. No, so like I said, like in mine also, we started with DOS and the basics, and then moved on to Java, and internet caught on, and then we learned quickly, about all the web, the browser side development, server platforms, server developments, application servers. Everything was new, and we learned all that on the fly. We developed. Java was new. Java also we learned, and then we developed on Java. And there's so many new, what do you call, architectures that came up on top and around, surrounding. So Java is just a language. Yeah, you just know Java doesn't mean you know everything in Java. Right? When there are new technologies, like I was mentioning, right? OSGI, AOP, Spring Framework. Spring Framework is again built on Java only, but then it's a whole framework that they build so that you can build on top of it your application. So something like that. And we ourselves are creating UPF, the framework. using that framework, people build the payment banking applications. So it is like, and our company is now planning on maybe, selling that as, to other people maybe in future. We don't know that. It may happen. So, so it's like you take language is just a means, of communicating something to the computer. Now, what you do and what you communicate, what you create, creation is like what you learn on the job, and then it's all your it's all mind power, your imagination, and what you can create, what you can think it up, and what you can make the computer do. So that is what, uh, yeah, I think that is where we are.
Shall we go to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and now, Deepak and Dhanraj, we have a lot of questions and we are getting late. So we'll just try to be a little bit short in the answers. Sorry, we just don't have much time. So is the competition increasing day by day in the IT sector worldwide? So I will try to answer that and then someone else can jump in. It is yes and no. There's a lot of jobs also and a lot of tasks also, but due to the automation of some part, there's always this cat and mouse thing going on. But the important thing is, it is sometimes useful to think about the macro things like, how many jobs are there and am I going to get it, how competitive it is. But if you're thinking about your own career, you just want one job, right? It is useful to know, where the world is going in, how many jobs are. But at some point you have to leave that aside and see what can I do. How can I make myself useful to the world in general, so that someone will hire me. So have that kind of attitude. Yes, there is job situation is good, bad, or somewhere in the middle, but I'm going to focus on me because that's the only thing I can control. I cannot control the industry. I cannot control in India. I cannot control it in the US. So
Yeah. Nice answer.
Dhanraj, good?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So one question related to project experience. There is one question related to your project experience. Would you focus on that?
What is that? Can you just read it out?
Yeah, I will read that.
I think the most of the questions you have known answers.
Sir, you are very well experienced, sir. In your whole career, you have been created most the project. Sir, what mistake happened by you during creation of any project? With that, if you share your experiences and story related to project, and also guide regarding the project. We have a project at the final year students. So how can they select?
I mean, everybody makes some mistakes. It is hard to think of something specific like that, right? So Deepak sir, I'm going
Yeah.
to defer to you.
I can talk about this. The mistake thing. I did a lot of mistakes, but the good
Yeah,
thing
me too, but
is
I don't want to admit it.
right. But the good thing is, I did mistake. I learned from that. I documented that, and I have made sure no one else do the same mistake again. Not only me, but no one else in my team. As long as you keep this approach, your management will be happy. They know that, okay, they are not the expert, but they are also human. And we need to make sure that whatever mistake we do, learn from that mistake and see how we can avoid that mistake, no matter whose mistake is that. Don't
Right.
don't try to point fingers, but see what is that mistake, how it happened, why it happened, and how can I avoid that mistake again. So it could be human error, or it could be error in the software development logic, or some errors.
Um, One example I can give, and it's not a specific example, but the general thing is one problem that they say that you should not do, or what one mistake is, optimize too early, right? So you're trying to make your software run fast or more efficiently even before it has started to work, right? So the order of the things should be make it work correctly, make it work fast, right? So that's the order it should be, right? That's one very good thing to remember.
Yeah, I think this was one of the problems we faced in one of our projects where, there was some early optimization done, but later on that whole code had to be revamped because the whole approach changed. So no
Yeah.
point spending time optimizing something, make it more performant, but it was all shelled and then a whole new approach was implemented to tackle that situation actually. So this had
Yeah.
happened, and, we did learn from that mistake, and then we have learned to stop optimization, and make sure that whatever features we develop, you make sure it is working and it is accepted by the consumer. And once it is accepted, only then you start, your optimization phase, and then you try to make it fast. Yeah. Also, usually, I think while you are working on some implementation, there are new requirements that come in, and it keeps on pushing you to change some behavior, whatever you coded, right? That is another thing, then you're tempted to make changes to your code. So I think we need a proper process, and you should be more diligent in following process and stop accepting new requirements unless it is approved. That is one more thing about software development. I think we need to be very careful about. Only work on approved requirements.
There's a lot of questions about what programming language skills are required to get a good job in IT field. So we have answered that a few times. There's one thing that you can search. I don't remember the website, but you can probably Google it. It gives the number of projects each language is used in, right? So which is the most popular language? They make a list of it. They rerun it every single year. So every year they make a list, right? And from that you can tell, that like Java is still good, .NET is still good, Python is still good, but also depends upon what you want to do. So some people are passionate about data, right? So then you learn about data, learn about Python. Care if Java and .NET are number one, but Python, as long as it is in the top 10. Now, of course, don't go and learn some obscure language if you don't have any reason to, right? So it's not like if I learn Java, I'm going to get a good job, but it's if you stick to the top 10 from that list, and if you're not able to find it, I will try to find it later. But if you stick to those, I think you cannot go wrong. Good.
I think every language was created to solve some problem in communicating with the computer. Something is more efficient if you talk to it in one language than in another. I think that is
Deepak,
where it all
volume
boils
just
down
a
to.
little bit.
It's
I'm
not at
not able
this
to hear.
Yeah, it's not about, which language is good. It's more about communicate better and performs the job faster or in a better uh, than the normal traditional language. So that's why, I mean, like Santosh put in the polyglot thing, right? So you need to know multiple languages and you need to know which language will perform better to do a certain job, right? So if you are in the CD mode, right? If you are working for that, when you have a build which is happening, then you have to deploy and there's various steps in between that you need to perform. There are different languages you can do it in. And plus, based upon platform, you have to select, right? It could be even as simple as bash script. If you're doing it on Windows, it could be Windows shell script. So, it depends, I mean, what language or what you do. And it also depends upon the job you want to do. So don't get tied down to just one language or something only. I will do only in Java and nothing else. That kind of mindset will never work.
Yeah. So let's take last two questions. Dr. Zada, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it is fine. Most of the answers, we have answered the questions which are put in the box by the participants. Okay, if you really long time and you are giving.
Okay.
There is one
Certifications.
blockchain technology. What was that?
Thank
Sorry?
you,
Right.
Tosh Kulkarni sir, Mr. Deepak Panchal sir, and Mr. Dhanraj Gadekar sir, for your valuable guidance and honoring us with your presence. I would like to thank all our resource person for being such an inspiring speakers for today's international webinar. Heartiest thank you to all. Now we have come towards end of this program. I request Mr. S.R. Kaur sir to give concluding remark on this international webinar.
Thank you for the opportunity also. Thank you. Are we having technical issues?
Hello? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
thank you very much, sir, for your very informative session. And it gives me an immense pleasure to present vote of thanks of today's international webinar on opportunities in software industry during and post COVID-19. So I'm very much thankful to Honorable Dhanraj Gadekar sir, Deepak Panchal sir, and Honorable Santosh Kulkarni sir for giving your precious time and very insightful knowledge in deep knowledge in the software industry. You have started from your background, and I think the most important thing, because some of students from a rural background doesn't ever think to go outside state. But after listening your journey, those can easily correlate their own life or own journey up till now to your journey. And definitely, I can say that their confidence have been boosted to level that they can also think he or she can join or go abroad for industry or for working in industry. So I'm very much thankful for boosting confidence of our students. You also given them educations which is required to acquire skills for joining industry, because if you, as you mentioned, your qualification or your background was prior electronics, then you achieved or acquired new skills in computer. So it signifies that one should not stop at attending his or her graduation or post-graduation in particular discipline. So it must be a continuous upgradation process while working in industry or any field. So it is very important thing that to upgrade yourself continuously, so your future or your career should be bright. Then all you try just replace the conventional talking system and combinedly you presented or guided our students. And here you mentioned various IT technological as well as IT management fields where students can join or students can look after this COVID, as well as you have guided about how to grow after entering into industry. That was the very important or very crucial point which usually students forget. Then current trends, current IT trends, as well as opportunities after post-COVID. Because after post-COVID, there is a drastic change in our globe as point of view of industry, any software industry or any other industry. So also you have shared some interview tips like communication, identifying your strength as well as weakness, which is again a very important point, and students also ignore those points. In that industry research and interview, the psychology of student, what mindset should be there, what mindset should we have before facing any interview. So, and at last, you have answered all of the questions which are raised by our students. So again, there are some questions left. So if you don't mind, please share your email so that if they for further queries or further discussions of our students, so that they can easily communicate with you for guidance. So for this brief knowledgeful session, a very informative session, I'm from behalf of our institute, I'm very much thankful for accepting our invitation and giving this session. So once again, I am very much thankful to all of you, Honorable Dhanraj Gadekar sir, Honorable Deepak Panchal sir, and Honorable Santosh Kulkarni sir. Thank you very much, sir. Then I would like to extend my thanks to Honorable Principal Dr. B.T. Zadav sir for giving us or guiding us to organize this such a type of session for our students. Then Honorable Wak sir and Shashikant Shinde sir, Rahul Wagmare sir for their kind attention towards students and these sessions. I am also very much thankful to Dike ma'am for comparing this session, and technical team, Satish Doke sir and Kulkarni sir for arranging this virtual meet for all of us in this lockdown like situation. And finally, all of the students participants who have joined this session as well as taking part in active discussion, So once again, I'm very much thankful to all of you for joining this session, and by taking prior permission of chairperson, I would like to declare this session is over. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night. You have spent a lot of time, 3.5 hours in this sitting, this one, and just we are going to collaborate with you as a mentor for the ISE, which are established by our institute. Thank you, sir. And just remains in contact with the through email or other type of the communication media. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.